So chances are you clicked on this video because you're either gay, bisexual, queer, maybe you are a top or maybe you are even a bottom. But whatever the reason may be, in this video, I'll be running down reasons why there seem to be so many more bottoms as opposed to tops. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Now, before we get any further, I'd like for us to be very clear as to what a top is and what a bottom is. Personal preference, I'm not one who believes that there are people rather who are exclusively tops or exclusively bottoms. I believe like just as it is with gender norms and sexuality, it is very much a spectrum. It is very much fluid and started from the bottom, now we top. That's an actual thing. For the purposes of this video and for anybody who might not know what a bottom is or what a top is, I think my little analogy will clarify some things. So in a relationship with two guys, we usually find a bottom and a top. For simple reasons, we have the same anatomy. So when it comes to cases whereby we're mixing cake batter and trying to bake the most beautiful cake that we can ever bake, it has to be clear who does what and who does this. There usually is a bottom, and a bottom is usually the one who assumes the position of the peach emoji. And then we also have the top. For the purposes of this video, we're gonna assume that the top assumes the position of the eggplant. During the process of making this cake, the eggplant will insert itself into the peach in order to make this lovely peach and eggplant flavored cake. But basically, all in short, the top is the one who does the penetrating during the session, and the bottom will be the one who receives the penetration. Now, before we move on with this video, my name's asantebychoice. My social medias will be on the screen right now, and they'll also be linked down below in the comments and the description box. So please make sure to check me out over there. I do post quite regularly, and I'm no cool kid, so you can follow me and holla for a follow back. I got you. But now that all the nitty-gritty is out of the way, we can get into the video. The first reason has to do with gay men being more in tune with their femininity, or rather their feminine energy. Generally, gay men are very much in tune with their feminine side in comparison to their heterosexual counterparts. For me, this is where the age-old saying of gay men wanting to be female, I think it originates from, because if you are anything like me, probably the first gay man that you met was very flamboyant, very over the top, very feminine, very much identified with characteristics that resembled them wanting to be female. Now, as a society, we know better now. We know that men can be feminine, men can be over the top, men can be eccentric without taking away anything from them being men. We as a society and as a people know better now. We know that does not in any way define what kind of men you are and what kind of role you assume in the bedroom. But be that as it may, those kind of men generally wanted manly men, and they tended to be bottoms in most cases. The second reason, we can kinda somewhat call it a sidekick to the first reason, and that is basically that feminine energy is more submissive. Now, understandably so, we do know that this is a societal construct definition that was given in a setting where a man was said to be a provider for a woman all the time. Obviously, times have changed. We understand that is not how things are done now anymore, but it is very important in understanding how and why there could possibly be more bottoms than tops. Because something happens in the evolution of a gay man coming to himself and accepting his full self. They tend to embrace both sides of the polar ends, and because a lot of gay men started out as being hidden or bottled up or not being able to freely express who they were, they have explored the masculine side to a T. So the side that is new and exciting is the opposite end of the polar end, and that is being more feminine and tapping into that energy and using it to the best of its ability. The third reason is very much nested in the predator and prey dynamic. Now, essentially, this is when an older gay man is responsible for ushering a younger gay man into the community. This happens quite often. You find that the older gay man is more established, more resourced, more experienced, and essentially the younger gay man is in all aspects inferior to him. These relationship dynamics tend to translate into the bedroom as well, whereby you will find that the older gay man is the one who does the plowing, and the younger, or essentially the baby gay, is the one who gets plowed. Now, it is not always like this. If you are into that other race, you know they're into some things, so it's a whole completely different story over there. My little hot take on the matter is that, these older men are usually the ones who are bottoms all this time, and like now they want to switch things up, but that's a video for another day. The fourth reason is probably the most obvious, I'd like to say, and that is the pleasure. Ask any man who has ever finished while being plowed or while assuming the bottom position. They will tell you the experience is like nothing. It's like nothing that you've ever experienced before. It's unparalleled, it's unmatched. It is just an experience that, I don't know, it deserves its own box in the pleasure category because it's just like nothing else. And although it is painful and it is an acquired taste, it is not something that you do once and you're like, yeah, definitely, this is for me. It's something that you do once and you're like, yeah, no, I think I can come back for more. And for that reason, we seem to find more bottoms. The fifth reason has to do with visibility. 7 times out of 10, you can tell whether a guy is a bottom or not. Now, granted, please don't hunt me down and kill me for this. It's not an exact science. It's not like I'll give you some sort of checklist to be like, check, 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 bottom, check, 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 top. No, you have to be someone who is within the community. And, I speak of this community like it's something from the Illuminati, but yeah, you have to be within the community, basically. You have to have an active and working gaydar in order to pick up on subtle hints, subtle cues that, will give it away. But 7 times out of 10, I'd probably say bottoms are very conspicuous. So you'll be able to notice a bottom when he walks into a room. Now, that is one aspect of the visibility that I talk about. The other aspect has to do with pride. Bottoms seldomly hide themselves. I'm not saying that they don't. Please don't come for me. But they seldomly hide themselves because they are just conspicuous, as I had said. Yeah, they just seem to have a very strong sense of pride. And if they do stay in the closet, it will be for a little while, and eventually it's gonna be like rainbows, 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 rainbows. That is something that I believe that the whole community as a whole can draw strength from, the strength of a bottom. But yeah, we could all do with that bravado in our everyday lives and just progressing the community as a whole. So as you have noticed, that visibility does not really explain why there could be more bottoms than tops, and that's basically because I do not believe there are more bottoms than tops. As much as we can have the conversation, debate about it, and be like, oh no, my goodness, I was on this other app and all I could run into was bottom, 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 bottom. I don't necessarily believe that there are more bottoms than tops. My theory goes as follows. Bottoms are generally more thoughty than tops. And I'm not saying that tops do not HOE. I'm not saying that tops cannot be bads. I'm just saying that usually people who coin that term, people who run with that term, usually in most cases are bottoms. A lot of tops, you would find them in relationships, whereas bottoms generally, They generally out there, they testing the waters and stuff like that. So that misconception of there being just a greater pool of bottoms who are available could be misconstrued for there being more bottoms, because as I've said, tops seemed to be in more stable relationships. Now bottoms, on the other hand, that actually do the opposite. They would actually break up a relationship that they're in because they feel stifled, feel bored, they feel like there's just more out there for them to go and explore. Granted, there is. And if you're gonna look at it like this, it makes more sense in my head. There's a greater selection that they can try from. Peaches are generally gonna stay the same. So if a top is gonna move from one peach to another peach to another peach, the experience might vary here and there. As we know, we've got Granny Smith apples, we've got golden apples, blah, 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 blah. But essentially, it's still just that. Back to peaches. It's still a peach. The anatomy, the mechanism of how it works, it's still a peach. If we move over to eggplants, it's a different story. We find long eggplants, we find short eggplants, we find curved eggplants, we find an array of curvatures within the eggplant sphere. We find different variations of girths in the eggplant arena. So there is just generally more for bottoms to explore. So that could be the reason. You can tell me down in the comments down below whether or not you agree with my assessment of that. It's just me. And with that being said, this concludes my first ever YouTube video. If you made it to this point of the video, thank you so much. A like of the video and a subscription to the channel will do wonders and will earn you 7 years of good luck. Share this video with any one of your friends. If I said something that you didn't agree with, tell me down below. If it's too bad that you really don't want to say anything about it, Askies, you're here, man. We live, we keep it pushing. But make sure to follow me on all my social media platforms. I am at asantebychoice. From me to you right now, peace, much love. See you later.